Okay, so here's another episode from Ebisu, and this one's really special. That's a 996 Cup Car, and Andy's just recently picked this up at auction. The car is going out of Japan. Unfortunately, I would love to have a bit more time with this thing. I just drove it here to Kurukuru land, and I'm just blown away how, I mean, it's a race car, so it feels like a race car. It's just like intense in every way possible. It's literally Porsche 911 perfection. It's Japan spec Porsche Carrera Cup, and what's different about this is that, of course, it's been painted this kind of baby blue. I love the kind of LM style yellow headlight stickers on the headlights, and the JDM touch has to be the Yokohama Advan Racing wheels. So you know, that kind of gives the look right there. I spotted some really brand new kind of calipers. I think that these might be from a 997. And it's running some endless rotors that have seen better days. And if you take a look at the back, again, the Advan GTs, this time on the back, car runs 295s. It's on Advan 052s, so semi-slicks. And you got the 2-pot small caliper. One thing that kind of surprised me is that being a cup car, there's no handbrake, there's no side brake. So it was a bit, we tried to actually go to school course to kind of get a nice location, but we couldn't actually make it in. I had to reverse, you know, going downhill, and without a handbrake, I almost slowed it like a couple of times. So, but you know, it's not every day you get to feature something quite so cool. Of course, 996s are super popular these days. Prices have gone up like every other 911 generation, but impressively, you know, cup cars are still quite affordable. It's mainly because, you know, after a certain amount of hours, the engine has to be overhauled. So most race teams, even if they're used as practice cars, because obviously these are very old, they prefer to just get rid of them and move to something a little bit newer. Okay, so I think we should take a look at the engine. Of course, this is a Metzger, and being a cup car, there's nothing much to see. It's a stock engine. Obviously, it's been upped performance-wise with a few upgrades. I'm not really sure what's been done to this particular car, but I spotted a Motec M800 in there. Of course, it's all stripped out. The transmission is insanely loud. There's a serious LSD in the back, and of course, being a cup car, it's got a welded-in cage, serious cage, built-in lifters. Steering wheel's over here, nice Momo piece that you kind of snap in once you sit in. There's a Motec dash. So once you power in the electrics, once you power on the electrics, you get to see the Motec display come alive. There's a shift light here to kind of help you time your shifts. There's a warning LED here. We just actually had this come on because we've been driving around the access road of Ebisu, and the exhaust got really hot, and we got a warning for the exhaust temperature. Yeah, it's full-on race car. Let me kill the electrics. Being a Japanese car, of course, there's a HKS circuit attack counter lap timer, Recaro seats, which are far too narrow for my big hips, and proper racing belts. And you got the door pull here, handle. There's not much space in there, it's pretty cramped. I mean, if I had a nice wide seat, I would actually get pretty comfortable in there. But yeah, what a machine. Let's take a look at the front here. You can have a look at what these things look like up front. Of course, access to the fuel tank. Wow, that just goes. Carbon fiber hood, Kevlar on the outer layer. But yeah, this is where you fill it up. Tank is there, fuel pumps. You plumb in the air to get the car lifted up. So it's got a Beloff HID kit and a Beloff stringer beam. So I guess you can control the flashing of the headlights for, I guess, when you're in emergency mode or there's a pit flag or whatever. If I can squeeze in my phone, we can see all the electrics and the Motec ECU placed there in the center. So the car runs Aragosta suspension all around. It actually looks like the Motec is used as a piggyback to the stock Bosch Motronic ECU. I'm not really sure what kind of regulations this car kind of adhere to in Japan. I know you're not really supposed to touch anything on these cars if you're actually competing in the Porsche Cup, but then, you know, this is probably used as a private circuit, kind of like weekend toy. So I'm sure if you put a Motec, you probably get a lot more performance out of the engine. And again, more carbon fiber back here. Big airbox with the Bosch airflow meter there. So the exhaust is pretty cool. If we get really low, you can kind of see what the exhaust system looks like. You can have a peek at the suspension. So I give it a little squirt in first gear, and once you're above 5,000 RPM, this thing sounds absolutely wild, insane. You get that legendary Porsche flat six sound, and all the whining and clunking from the transmission, the driveline. It's been used properly, this car. So the cool thing about this car is that when Andy picked it up at auction, it was on plates, so it means you can actually register this car. And I think one of the things that you need to do to these kind of race cars that get number plates put on is to have like a cover. You can't have the exposed, you know, quick filler system of the race cell to show through any bodywork. So that kind of explains why that's there. But simple enough. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people in Japan that actually do register cup cars on the street. It makes total sense. Like, some people prefer to build a street car towards being a track car or a performance car, whatever. But basically you're going the other way around with it. You start off with a track car and you kind of make it road legal. So when you do go to the track, you have the best possible performance out of your car. So here's the third air jack. So there's two behind the rear seats and a third one here that gets the front end. This is one of the special bits and pieces that these cars get. That's the Bosch Motorsport ABS unit. And there's a lot of people that actually fit this part. I'm not sure if it's a 996 or 997 unit, but they actually fit them to, you know, resto modded 964s. Kind of have that motorsport feel. So this car is actually going to Norway of all places. TS Motors have picked it up, and they're probably going to end up using it as a, you know, track car. Maybe take it down to the Nürburgring or get some Gattabil events in. It's going to be insane. I would love to see this out in action. I heard from a guy that used to run a 458 challenge car on the street in Tokyo that the only thing he had difficulty with to pass the shakan, which is the kind of like homologation test to get the cars registered and get a license plate on them, is to have the steering arms from the actual street car, because these race cars really do not have much steering angle. So once you kind of prove that you've done that and they go over the car, you can actually put number plates on it, which is absolutely unbelievable. I just can't believe, you know, driving a car like this around Tokyo, maybe taking it on the Wangan and stopping by Tatsumi parking area, Daikoku, something very special. You definitely need some earplugs because that thing gets loud. Yeah, and just look at that light, hit it. I thought I'd just point out that it's got the little module for the HKS lap timer stuck outside there on the skirt. Of course, being a race car, it doesn't have the regular emblem. It's actually a sticker with a fake kind of shadow, because race car. So this is a 1999 car, and it was the second year of the GT3 Cup based on the 996, and the motor is a 3.6 GT1 block, and it's rated at 370 horsepower at 8,000 RPM, and it was mated to a 6-speed H-pattern manual transmission. I think the sequentials were probably introduced with the 997 generation. A quick squirt up and down here the access road, it just feels like absolutely wild. It's not going to be crazy fast, but I think with the amount of grip these cars generate and that really usable torque curve throughout the mid-range, it's going to be one hell of a fun car to drive on track. So one cool detail in this engine cover is these two openings here feed, I'm not sure if you can see, but the airbox is sort of open there, so they feed the airbox directly with some pressurized air, helping the engine kind of breathe. And these amazingly cool like finned corners that kind of help dissipate as much heat as possible away from the engine, the exhaust, and everything else back there. There's a lot of stuff happening back there. So we saw it from the inside, but here's a view through the Lexan glass at the back. You can see the adjuster for the Aragosta suspension and the Motec M800, which is kind of piggybacking off the Bosch Motronic ECU right there. You got all the fuses back here. Yeah, so pretty simple. I even noticed there's a Motec beacon receiver actually mounted to the roll cage. Maybe it's an official thing that only works with licensed Motec timing gear at cup races, I'm not sure. One thing I noticed is the windows are fixed. They don't wind down. There's no winders, there's no switches, or at least I haven't seen any. Of course, the only thing on the door is just a door pull to kind of release the lock. I think for the 997, they actually went to carbon fiber doors. So this is probably like the closest iteration of the cup car to the actual road car. Completely peaceful Ebisu circuit. I just got to do a couple of laps in the 996 Cup Car, and I'm just overwhelmed at how intense the experience is. As you probably saw and heard from the footage, it just sounds absolutely incredible. It kind of reminds me that first time that I covered the Nürburgring 24 hours race, and just hearing all those race 911s blast past me, that unmistakable flat six sound. I'm in awe. Big massive thank you to Power Vehicles for allowing this, Kumakubo for allowing us access to Higashi after hours. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just blown away. And this is our next shoot, just arriving here. It runs on oil, so it's a rotary. Of the 997, which was let me do that again.